The Panthers' power play came to life on Saturday night as they hope to get back on track for this road trip.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Monday, January 12th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost every NFL playoff game day. You can do that all on FanDuel. So, Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers. Today, we are going to discuss the Panthers' 3-2 win over the Ottawa Senators on Saturday night from the Canadian Tire Center. We are going to discuss the Panthers' strength of schedule coming up for them in these next 38 games that they have remaining, and is it actually deceiving for where their strength of schedule lies, and also preview tonight's game as the Florida Panthers will take on the Buffalo Sabres at the KeyBank Center for the second game of their 4-game season series here. But yeah, like I said, the Panthers got a win on Saturday night against the Ottawa Senators by a final score of 3-2. After giving up the first goal, the Panthers really locked it down and scored 3 unanswered, including an insurance goal early in the third period by Gustav Forsling to get the win. And the fact is, the Panthers power play came to life. 2 of those being of the power play variety, one from Evan Rodriguez, the other one from Carter Verhaeghe. And honestly, the big change for the Florida Panthers really came with changing up the units for the power play. I mean, yeah, they put Uvis Balinskis on the first unit. And I mean, Uvis has played various different roles in the last few years. I mean, even going back to their 2024 Stanley Cup run for them, he starts the season in that on that third pair along with Josh Mahura. He gets sent down to the AHL, plays the remainder of that season, gets an extension, plays a lot of those key minutes as well in the 2025 season, is elevated to power play 1, fourth line winger, was actually on that same line that got Mackie Samoskevich his first goal last year on Long Island. And then now he's a regular for the Florida Panthers here in 2025-26. So it's been a little bit of an adventure for Uvis Balinskis here. And speaking of another Latvian hockey player, the Panthers did do this while calling up Sandis Vilmanis, a former 5th-round pick for the Panthers back in the 2022 draft, number 157th overall. And he's actually going to be on the Latvian Olympic team as well. So this is the 3rd time in NHL history that 2 Latvian teammates played in the same game. And the last game that it happened in, Paul Maurice is actually coaching that game when he was with the Carolina Hurricanes. So it's a little bit of a rarity to have 2 Latvian players play on the same team in a club hockey setting in the NHL. So the Panthers, like I said, they locked it down when they needed to. I mean, the Ottawa Senators scored on the first shot of the game, which went off of the stick of Gustav Forsling and then went over the far side shoulder of Bobrovsky from the goal line. So a lot of weird bounces. We talked about those weird bounces in Montreal, and it continued as well in the beginning of this game in Ottawa. And both teams coming into this one, they lost 5 of their last 7. Something had to give. There was a lot of bad PR coming out of the Ottawa Senators, especially from addressing a rumor that spread online from something that was said about why Linus Ullmark was away. So the Panthers taking advantage of playing a goaltender who usually plays backup minutes in Levi Merlainen, who the Panthers have seen before. They saw him 2 years ago, like I mentioned in the preview of this game. But the Panthers really started to get things going, especially after that first goal. They were really starting to get those puck in deep. They were battling along the boards, and both of those goals that they scored on the power play. Which the thing is for the Panthers, when you look at this game, They won every single period on the scoreboard, scored in the first, scored in the second, scored in the third. And doing so with making that change on the top power play unit, I was very vocal about my disappointment in Aaron Ekblad from being one of the duds of the game from early in this trip, about getting no shots on goal throughout the game. And when you're the power play quarterback, you are expected to at least open up some of those lanes and at least try to get shots through. And those weren't coming for the Panthers on that man advantage. But although the second unit was the one that scored for the Panthers on that first goal, Aaron Ekblad, with less expectations, was able to battle it out, get a pinch there for the Panthers there to at least work it back up to the high slot and get it to Evan Rodriguez there for the goal. But also Aaron Ekblad, when he's on that second power play unit along with Gustav Forsling, you could allow yourself to play a little bit more down low. And also great drive to gain the zone by Mackie Samoskevich. I know he didn't get an assist on that play, but he's a big reason why that goal happened, because of his ability to drive up to the middle and still carry his momentum into the board. So at least pin them there, so that it gave Aaron Ekblad that support to get it back up top. And also for the Carter Verhaeghe goal in the second period, it was the same low to high, D to D, except, well, Carter Verhaeghe doesn't play D, but point to point there for the Panthers there, and taking a few strides in order to get a little bit of that lane. So, and the thing is, for both of those goals, it came from two guys who are on the opposite side of the ice, for as far as Carter Verhaeghe's stick was closer to the half wall on one side, Evan Rodriguez on the other side, him being a right-handed shot there. So there's a lot of more space and time for the goaltenders to see the pucks there. But for when you are gaining the zone and also battling and working those low, you also want to give yourself an opportunity to draw the defense for the opposition out of position, so that when you do work them, you're doing it with quickness, and also not allowing them to get back in time to at least get their bodies on the pucks to take away those shot opportunities, which the Panthers did so well there on Saturday night. And like I mentioned, Mackie, he's on fire lately. It's 4 straight games that he has had at least 3+ shots on goal. And yeah, the shooting percentage says 4%, but you could see that there's signs of a breakthrough coming close there for the Panthers there. And it's funny because Ed Jovanovski in the pregame mentioned how when it comes to a power play that is struggling, and he's been a guy who's number 1 overall pick. He's played in many different situations, including the Olympics for Canada in 2002. He's seen a lot of it for his career. He's mentioned about keeping things simple as well, and just try to find a way to get when you get the puck towards the point, to try to just find a way to get those pucks through. And the Panthers didn't have to do it in the case of rebounds for the Panthers there. And also Uvis, although he wasn't on the ice for the second goal, it was Gustav Forsling on the first unit with that one. Credit to Jamie Compon, who knew what personnel to put up there. And also the fact is, we spoke about different players playing various different roles at 5-on-5, but also with Gustav Forsling playing that elevated role on the power play and getting more of those minutes. His time on ice is definitely taking a little bit of a boost, and it's working. And also with his speed and his ability to close gaps in the case of there being a shorthanded breakaway, Gustav Forsling is fit in more ways than one. I know Aaron Ekblad spoke about having the wives be away from him based on how fit he is, but he's also fit to get back and take away those opportunities. And also credit to the Panthers as far as their ability to protect at the blue line. Uvis Balinskis at times was really protecting the puck well and getting those quick taps from the blue line and getting it back to the half walls when the Panthers were on that front. And also the fact that the 2-on-1s, they were very too far in between for the Panthers. And there was one big stop that Nico Mikkola had with a little bit of a slide and a sweep out, especially when the game got really the Ottawa Senators were really starting to push, and that push really started to happen after the Panthers made it 3-1, thanks to Gustav Forsling and the slap shot that Levi Marilainen was just not going to stop. I mean, Gustav Forsling just has one of the hardest shots in the NHL, and it's crazy how often how we don't see that often, but when he does, it's like we see that the clapper really truly does get through. And Ottawa made a little bit of a push at the end, and Drake Batherson was the one Ottawa Senator player that was really pushing and really getting those shots, and he got the one tip deflection from Claude Giroux's goal that came from the half wall. But the Panthers kept Timmy Stützle shotless as well. So that's a plus for the Panthers, as I do believe that Timmy Stützle is part of the solution for the Ottawa Senators. They kept him shotless. They kept also Shane Pinto shotless, who's a big part of their bottom six as well. I do believe that the Ottawa Senators down the middle are built very well, and they can compete with most teams. It's just there's something up just with their goaltending, and a lot of inconsistencies there, especially with Linus Ullmark unfortunately out. But I do believe that that at least down the middle that they have that going for them. And also, this was another one of those games for the Panthers and the Senators where it got a little bit chippy. Shane Pinto pushed Sam Bennett into the crease. Carter Verhaeghe, while the Panthers were on the power play, inexcusably boards Artem Zub, who was also having a great game, and then he does not return after that. And the Sens fans were not pleased with Carter Verhaeghe not getting a 5, and I was shocked, honestly, that Carter Verhaeghe did not get a 5-minute major there, because there was a lot of space and there was an aggressive extension of the arms when Carter Verhaeghe was trying to go after that puck. And you know what? The Panthers got away with one. And you know what? You count your lucky stars there for the Cats that it wasn't there wasn't any more of a discipline after that. So Carter Verhaeghe was unscathed there. And also Carter Verhaeghe had an awkward delay of game where he was trying to just flip the puck to Sam Bennett as he was gaining, trying to get over the red line, but way out of the rink for a delay of game. But the Panthers were able to kill it. And again, no power play goals against the Senators, and 2 power play goals for them against Ottawa, which they were able to do at ease when they did face off in their home game back on October 11th. So that's been the key for this season series for the Panthers. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we are going to discuss the Panthers' upcoming strength of schedule for the remainder of the season, and is it actually deceiving for the Panthers in with how compressed the Eastern Conference is, and where are they trending as far as their road record? We're going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Factor and New Year, big goals, and somehow even less time to cook. If you're trying to eat better, you don't want to spend hours grocery shopping or meal prepping. Factor makes it easy. These are fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without all the work. Factor meals are made with quality, functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, or refined seed oils. Just real food that fits your goals, whether that's eating healthier, managing calories, and getting more protein. The meals are always fresh, never frozen, and they're ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress. Factor also has Muscle Pro meals. They're perfect when you want something higher in protein to support strength and recovery. It honestly makes sticking to your goals much easier because food is already done for you. Head to factor.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off. Code LockedOnNHL50 off. Make eating healthy easy with Factor. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. And if you haven't already, check out our new Everydayer Club. It's an access to an audio feed for Locked On Florida Panthers compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. It's an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes group chat for listeners of this show. Check out the link in the show notes to learn more. So, one thing that I was kind of looking at for the Panthers here coming down the stretch, and of course, they are in a position where they're still out of the wild card as of right now, but got a little bit of help during the weekend with the Pittsburgh Penguins losing on Saturday against the Boston Bruins by a final score of 1-0. Although Boston is the definition of streaky. 0-3, 3-0, excuse me, 0-4, an 8-1 run, an 0-6-3 run. I believe on the top of my head, they are the definition of streaky. And the thing is, the Panthers against the Bruins, they have only 2 more matchups against them instead of 3. Bruins and Habs are the 2 teams that they have the 3 division matchups this year as opposed to the 2. So keep an eye on that for the Panthers when it comes to just the teams that they are chasing here. But the Panthers, I just took a look at Tankathon. This is the first time in a while that I've seen where their strength of schedule lies. And for the Panthers here, they have the 9th easiest strength of schedule right now remaining for the Panthers here. And there are teams behind the teams that are ahead of them as far as easiest schedule are Vancouver, New Jersey, LA, Carolina, New York Islanders, Colorado, Anaheim, and San Jose. Most of them are Western Conference teams. Some of them are teams that are out of the playoff race right now. And I believe that New Jersey is done. I believe that that's a team that's a little bit broken. They scratched Dougie Hamilton recently. He's blocked some trades as well. The whole trying to get Quinn Hughes didn't quite work out for them, and that might have sent a little bit of tension in the locker room. Now there's questions on whether Tom Fitzgerald should keep his job there. So there's a lot of it's very tense in New Jersey right now for the Devils. But for the Panthers here, as far as according to Tankathon, the teams with the best strength of schedule that they will play: Minnesota twice, Tampa Bay once, Carolina once, which it'll be this week for Carolina against Carolina. Detroit 3 more times for the Panthers. All 3 of those matchups will come March and beyond. They'll actually send them twice in a matter of a week. And the last game of the season, will Detroit rest their players if they wrap up the division there? New York Islanders, they'll see them twice in the same month, in the beginning of March on the very first day, and then on a back-to-back later in that month. So those are the teams that the Panthers will face as far as the best teams with the points percentage. Minnesota, they'll see them later on a back-to-back in Chicago and Minnesota. So on a Saturday in Minnesota, Sunday in Chicago. But then the teams that they that are seen as quote-unquote easy games for the Panthers: Vancouver, who they won't see until March. Winnipeg, which they'll see twice in this month. They the 2 games that they have won recently after losing 11 straight are against the LA Kings, who have struggled to score, and then the New Jersey Devils, who I just recently mentioned, might be a little bit of a broken hockey team. Them and Ottawa, who they just beat. So the fact that the Panthers have gotten some wins there, as far as teams that you see that they should be, that's at least a good thing for the Panthers. You see the losses against Montreal, that's a playoff team from last year. Toronto, that's a playoff team from last year, although they're missing pieces from the year before. But at least you get it right against an Ottawa Senators team. Although 5-on-5 play, you would still like to see more goals there. St. Louis, they play better in St. Louis than they do at home against the Blues, which is kind of odd for the Panthers there. Calgary, they won't see them until March, just like Vancouver. It'll be in that same trip in the middle of the month. Chicago will be later this month, and then Columbus will be twice in a matter of a week in early March as well. So a lot of those quote unquote easy games won't come until later on. So it's going to get harder before it gets better. So you're going to see this Tankathon site which you could check out yourselves, it's actually going to go a little bit higher as the season goes on, because the Panthers are going to get out of the way those hard games earlier on. So if the Panthers are able to get some of those wins there, especially with them being away from Amerant Bank Arena, that's going to be very encouraging. Although the Detroit game might skew that a little bit there for the Panthers. But I look at situationally how it might be a little bit deceiving, to be quite honest, for looking at this, because you look at different stretches of division games, which the Atlantic Division, I will still say is the better the better division in the East over the Metropolitan. And there's still a lot of stretches where you're just going to be playing a lot of those Atlantic Division games, like what the Panthers are currently going through right now. And for the February, especially, where you look at right before the Olympic break, 3 division games: Buffalo, Boston, Tampa Bay, which the Boston Tampa Bay one is on a back-to-back. And then right when you return, where the Buffalo Sabres aren't going to be sending many guys to the Olympics. Tage Thompson is one of those players who's going to be on the team. Rasmus Dahlin is going to be as well for his respective Olympic team. And then they're going to see the Buffalo Sabres twice later on in the beginning of the month and at the end of the month as well. All those games for the Panthers in the month of February, although there's only 5 and there's a big break in between, that and the fact that the Panthers have the second most players in their organization going to the Olympics, that is going to be a stretch where I'm going to really be keying in, because how do the Panthers end before a break and how do they start off after a break? Last year, when the Panthers came out of 4 Nations, major dud at home against the Seattle Kraken right then. But after that, the Panthers really started to get hot. They started to learn how to adjust to life without Matthew Tkachuk for the end of the regular season, right before bringing him back for the postseason. But the Panthers have been doing that. The thing is with the Panthers is the injuries have been starting to pile up even more and more. Although the Panthers hopefully are to get some good news on the Matthew Tkachuk front. Hopefully Brad Marchand is back, as he is still day to day. He didn't make his return in that game against the Ottawa Senators. And also the Panthers have to do a little bit of cap maneuvering still to bring Matthew Tkachuk back. Sandis Vilmanis is waivers exempt, so he'd be sent down, and you'd have to transition some of guys on regular IR to LTIR, and they could also do that with Seth Jones, put him on LTIR because he has the bigger cap hit, and you could kick the can down the road as far as making another IR designation for a guy like Jonah Gadjevich, because Cole Schwint is likely not to be placed on LTIR because of the fact that he is practicing. He shed the non-contact jersey as well. So it's likely going to be Jonah Gadjevich when Seth Jones does return to the lineup. So there's a lot of maneuvering that the Panthers are going to have to do. And the Panthers, honestly, are not in a position to add at the deadline with all these guys in their lineup for them. But really, when you look at this stretch for the Panthers, even in this month, there's still 2 more back-to-backs for the Panthers, and there's 1 more right before the Olympic break. And like I said, you're going to be starting with one immediately right when you come back to the Olympic break. So like how you could go on a run and you could easily find yourself back above the wild card, same thing could happen with the strength of schedule with those teams that are below you in strength of schedule. Those teams that they're facing could start winning, and that can get a little tougher for them. So, don't get married to seeing the 9th best strength of schedule, because the Panthers still, even after the month of January, it'll say 16 road games left to 12 home games, and the Panthers still are going to have to figure that out. The Panthers in the Paul Maurice era, their worst road record came in year 1, 19-19-3 in 2023. That was life of adjusting to a new system where everybody was. But the good news is they've had players who've played for multiple years and have gotten used to it. The problem is whenever it comes to guys going down and also new guys playing in different roles here. And that's a little bit of a tougher thing to navigate. The Panthers haven't even had an overtime loss on the road this year. All their overtime losses have been at home, so at least you're getting some of those points at home. Panthers are 9-9-0 on the road. They went 19-19-3 in 2023. League best road record in 2024, which had a 13-game winning streak in between. Let's not forget that it ended in Carolina there. So that was an impressive run that the Panthers had, and then they've averaged after that 22 to 26 wins around there. They've been in that range, but the Panthers are going to have to continue to at least get something on the road, and it's going to be a challenge with not having last change in their matchups. And yes, that thankfully Matthew Tkachuk coming back does put Adrian Greer back one line as far as the third line. So it really helps for those bottom six matchups, not just with Matthew Tkachuk elevating something hopefully on the top six, but making something happen hopefully for that third line with Evan Rodriguez, Mackie Samoskevich, and Adrian Greer. That's the line that I'm kind of projecting. And then you move Jesper Boquist down a line to be with Jackson Nicka there. But hopefully the Panthers do get some health luck coming in later. But we're going to transition to segment number 3, where we're going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres. We're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo and New Year, New Systems. This is the same when a lot of us at the messier points of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communication is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner. You're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer. You could even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next step, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the -- rated business phone system on G2, trusted more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity, no customers slip away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off of your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's quo.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Monday. And also, some news off the ice for the Panthers here and hockey in South Florida is the synthetic ice rink from the Winter Classic has officially been donated to the Slam School, which was built by Pitbull and also not too far from Lone Depot Park. So something we spoke about on the podcast, and the Script Sports broadcast actually put out a video there during the game on Saturday night there. So, and also the Panthers giving Zach Dalpe, former Checkers captain, a Stanley Cup ring of his own. So big moment for Zach Dalpe in the 2023 run to the final, which they eventually lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. Big goal in Game 6, a memorable one, as Steve Goldstein with that incredible call saying, come up here, I got to give you a hug, with one of the most iconic goal calls that Steve Goldstein has probably had in his career. And he's been with the Florida Panthers quite a long time there. So congratulations to Zach Dalpe on getting a Stanley Cup ring. But Panthers visit the Sabres tonight from the KeyBank Center in Western New York. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Panther fans visiting there, as I've seen so many Panther fans on TV over the years there in Buffalo. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be heading to the Anchor Bar if you happen to be in town there. But the Sabres, they are hot, and they were on this hot streak even before firing their former general manager in Kevin Adams. And the problem with the Sabres has been the owner getting general managers in positions that were unqualified. They haven't been in front office roles before. Even before Kevin Adams, Jason Botterill was not in a front office role mostly in his career, and then he takes the front office job there in Buffalo. And then Kevin Adams was more on the business side, but not on the front office side. And then he promotes him, and then 5 years too long for Kevin Adams. They mess up the Jack Eichel situation, have to trade him, and then the exodus of guys from JT Peterka for them trade this offseason, trading him to Utah, and then one of the pieces not playing for a good while in the beginning of the season, and then trading Dylan Cousins for Josh Norris, and then his inability to be part of the lineup, and then rushing guys into the league. They tried to rush Devin Levi into the Buffalo Sabres. They tried rushing Jack Quinn, who's in the same draft class as Anton Lundell, and he's also dealt with a whole bunch of injuries. And now he's no longer waivers exempt, Jack Quinn, but now he's really starting to get in the lineup and get and contribute to the Sabres. But this run of 13-1-0 since December 9th has been the main reason why they've been able to get on this run has been goaltending. Their starters, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Alex Line, although Alex Line is hurt currently, and Colton Ellis, all of them have a .919 save percentage and above throughout this run. So their goal differential is +20. Only one player is at a point per game or more, and that's Tage Thompson, who has 18 points in his last 14 games, 9 of them being goals. So it's been a nice little stretch there for Tage Thompson. And honestly, their power play hasn't even been going even recently. Since December 9th, the Sabres power play has been in the bottom third of the NHL. Since that, thankfully, NHL.com allows you to do ranges there, but their goals against 2.21 in that span, which the Panthers, which they're missing a 40 goal scorer, they're missing their top center in Alexander Barkov. They're gonna have to try to find a way to get on the inside and pressure Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, which I'm thinking that he's going to be the starter tonight in Buffalo, which the Panthers, last time that they were in Buffalo, they got shut out by Alex Lyon. They almost got shut out by another former Panther in Brandon Bussey, which thankfully the Panthers were able to come back there against the Carolina Hurricanes. But with Jarmo Kekalainen now in the mix, who was the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, he was hired as a special advisor to the general manager, and it was kind of the worst kept secret where when they hired him, that was going to be the guy to take over in the case that the Buffalo Sabres were off to a poor start, and they needed to find a way to make a change, which a 3-game winning streak at the end of a long West road trip could not save Kevin Adams' job, because I feel like maybe the Pagulas thought that was that point after a West Coast trip was the deadline to kind of see where the team is at, and that didn't save him there. But Kekalainen has learned to make trades when necessary, and also when to buy. I mean, he went for it in 2019 when Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky were part of the mix. He knew when to also buy for a guy like Artemi Panarin when he first bought him. He was the guy who drafted Adam Boquist, and also knew that he was maybe not on a trajectory of being a number 1 defenseman, and also shipped them off for that then, as they're and also getting rid of the contract of Brandon Saad at the same time, there trading him back to Chicago. So he's a very patient general manager, and also knows when to buy when necessary. And also the Sabres are in a position possibly to do that, which still they have a lot of contracts on the books that aren't extremely expensive for them. So they could find a way to at least still pay a guy like Alex Tuch, who's from New York. And now that they're on this streak, and you see how much a guy like Adrian Kempe got paid, Mikko Rantanen the year before, Marty Necas recently with the Colorado Avalanche, you're expecting Alex Tuch to be maybe somewhere around the 10, 11s when it comes to his contract. And, this would be a shame if a guy from that region nearby, who he's from Syracuse, not necessarily Buffalo, but a guy who's at least nearby, who grew up there, it would be tough to have him walk away from that in the case that this run continues on and they actually break their 14-year playoff drought, which versus was still a thing when they when they made last time they made the playoffs. So that's how long it's been there for the Panthers. The Panthers had not broken their 12-year playoff drought from 2000 to 2012 just yet, the last time the Sabres made the playoffs. So just goes to show how long it's been. And the fact that the Sabres look one step closer to breaking it. And maybe this is the year. Who knows? But with how tight everything is, again, a Panthers run could get them back, and a Sabres losing streak could get them out of the playoffs just like that. So the key to the Panthers is get to the inside, get those rebound opportunities, make UPL's life uncomfortable, and hopefully those big guns for the Buffalo Sabres, which Bowen Byram has gotten hot recently as well. And he was a Stanley Cup champion from 2022 in Colorado. So he's been through those long playoff runs there. So he knows what it's like to be in a race. So hopefully the Panthers are able to get those opportunities. I won't be surprised to see if Daniil Tarasov does start on Monday in Buffalo, because the fact that there's a long break and that there is a back-to-back. So you'll see some of those 2 starts in a 3-game span here, which the Panthers did recently do for the Winter Classic, and then being back at Amerant Bank Arena after that to give Bobrovsky a little bit of a rest. So we'll see. Right now it's 11:07 right now for at the time of this recording. So we will see if the Panthers do have Daniil Tarasov in the crease, and if Brad Marchand does in fact return. I do believe that they are going to have Matthew Tkachuk return on Friday in Carolina, due to the fact that there's more practice time, but nothing surprises me as far as where the Panthers, as far as the secrets that the Panthers will hold back as far as who will play and who will not. So we will see there. But that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Make sure to come back tomorrow as we will break down this game between the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.